gym. Yeah, we been in the gym. Focused on the win. What you say, boy? Come again. I like we ain't poppin'. Ayy, who won't stop us now?
I've been in the gym in my house. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Hope everyone's holding up well at home. Molly Karen Rose here with Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith, Marcus Spears will be with here in just a moment. And guys, good morning. We got quite a lineup today. Two Hall of Famers joining us, the one and only Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas. Plus, Ravens back Mark Ingram will be here as well. But we begin with the Cowboys. They've resumed contract negotiations with Dak Prescott for the first time since using the exclusive franchise tag on him earlier this month, as first reported by WFAA and confirmed by ESPN. The two sides have until July 15th to work out a long-term deal. Here's our Ed Werder.
Dak Prescott's side, Todd France's agent, they want a 4-year deal because they know there's going to be a new TV contract and a lot of new money coming into the NFL teams in the next 2 years, and that the salary cap's going to go up exponentially, and he wants to be able to take advantage of that when he finishes his next contract with the Cowboys. And the Cowboys have a history of preferring to do 5- and 6-year contracts so they can spread the salary cap signing bonus over a greater number of years, thereby lessening the impact in the early years of the deal.
Max Kellerman, you are up first. Tell me this. Do you think Dak should hold out?
I do, because I don't think it's going to have to come to that. But if it does, he can always do it because the deal will be available to him at a later date. Look, if the Cowboys were serious about franchising him, they wouldn't show every indication of caving. Jerry Jones has never made his money on the margins. You know, I'll cut this fine deal, and because of this percentage point, I'll get rich. Jerry Jones has admitted he's, quote unquote, overpaid for every really successful asset he's acquired, including the Dallas Cowboys in his estimation. He doesn't make money on the margins. Jerry Jones makes his money with big ideas. He has a big imagination. And so that's exactly the kind of person who, when you're negotiating with, you don't have to worry about them trying to be a penny wise and pound foolish. What did they say about Ezekiel Elliott, Stephen A? Molly? What'd they say? Stephen Jones comes out, and obviously on the same page with Jerry, we're not going to set the market with Zeke. Zeke didn't have the leverage Dak had, and he couldn't even just sit out and become a free agent. And what did they do a week after they made that comment? They set the market with Zeke. They reset it. Guaranteed money and average annual income, average annual salary. They've done that all over the place on this team. They've paid all kinds of players, but you mean to tell me when push comes to shove, they'll come up all the way to $105 million and make him among the highest paid players, but not go that extra mile? And if they are intent on towing the line because now they have an ego stake in it, right? No, we're not going to pay him more than Russell Wilson or something like that, or Carson Wentz or something like that. They're going to have to give somewhere else, and that would be in the 4 years. The point, Stephen A, is when one party shows every indication of cracking, they're going to crack. Do you just give up? No. You say, okay, you've taken me this far. You're going to give me what I want one way or the other. Either money's going to come up or the contract's going to get a little shorter. The Cowboys have shown every indication of caving. Dak should threaten to hold out because I don't think he'll have to.
Well, let me tell you this. I think that you have to be careful, and this is where I disagree with you. Obviously, I've been of the mindset that Dak Prescott has not been treated well by the Dallas Cowboys, because had this been Tony Romo, who's hadn't missed a game in 4 years, completed better than 65% of his passes in 3 of those 4 years, won at least one playoff game or what have you would have taken care of Tony Romo, so you should take care of Dak Prescott. But there is such a thing as pushing the envelope a little bit too far. I remember years ago, Max Kellerman, the late, great Commissioner David Stern, God rest his soul, for the National Basketball Association. He and I were in his office for lunch. Obviously, he gave me a Pepsi, and he sat down, and it was in the aftermath of negotiations in like 2011 or something. And he talked about, he didn't use the words throwing somebody a bone, but he said when you're working in concert with one another, even though you might be the player and we might be management or ownership, the fact of the matter is that when you have your proverbial foot and you're willing to step on somebody's throat, then you ask them to go out there and perform for you. it's a problem. Well, the same thing exists in reverse. If you're a player and you literally step on somebody's throat just because you can at that particular moment in time, you never know how it could come back and haunt you. Dak Prescott should definitely go about the business of getting his money. And by the way, a fifth year should be commensurate with whatever available dollars he thinks is going to be there in year 5. You know, so in that regard, you want to make sure you're getting your money. But in the same breath, you want to be careful about pushing the envelope to a point where you could ultimately screw up your team, especially in a hard cap league that is the NFL. I'm not saying don't get your money. I'm not saying don't go all out to get what your market value is. But what I'm saying is if the Dallas Cowboys come up to that number and then you're playing hardball for the business of simply playing hardball just because you can, it could potentially come back to bite you in a sport like the National Football League. Again, get your money, get what you're worth. But once that happens, then you start playing possum or what have you. Just because you can, it can get dangerous. And that's all I'm saying. You got to be careful about that.
Well, I think the big sticking point is the amount of years, and obviously they trying to compensate for where the money goes with the CBA. But to that point, Stephen A., I mean, when you look at this situation with Dak, and he's looked at everybody else get contracts, and obviously the structure will be different. Like putting your foot on the franchise's neck is what they do to you when it's time for you to go. So I don't the situation you talked about yesterday with Cam Newton. This is business. This is the type of things that transpire. As players, we don't know how many times we're going to get to hit free agency or we get a chance to put our proverbial foot on somebody's neck, whether they look at that as positive or not. The only way Dak can fall off if he gets paid and goes out and plays terrible. But outside of that, if I feel like they're offering me 105 and I can get 112, I'm not taking 111. That's just how it goes because it's such a short notice. Now, I don't know what the relationship would entail after the fact, but to that point, like if you have a 4-year deal and you got to your 112 and they offered 105, that's just a win. That's the price of doing business. I don't know what relationship or respect that you need to have beyond that outside of the fact that you just won a negotiation.
Yeah, I'm leaning on you, Stephen A., that it's former Cowboy. Go ahead, Mark.
Stephen A., I wouldn't say that it's that. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's foot on the neck. I wouldn't say that at all. In fact, when you get to the very end of your deal, when they've had you as a 4th-round pick, so they haven't had to pay you so far practically anything, and they've wasted all that time where you had him on his rookie deal for peanuts, right? But they made you come right up to this point and then franchised you. What they're saying is, no, we're negotiating hardball. So that goes for the other side, too. It has nothing to do with putting his foot on their neck. It has to do with the new CBA. So, Stephen A., when you're saying make sure you get your money in that 5th year, it's not about the 5th year. It's about the next 5 or 6-year deal. So, in other words, he goes through the 4 years. Now the money comes way up, and he can negotiate a 5-6-year deal according to the new larger CBA. That affects his money for years and years. That's why he wants to do it that way. And I understand it. The Cowboys have boxed themselves into this position by taking it to the wire.
Yeah, they have boxed themselves in a corner, but I'm going back to what Swagoo and numerous other members of the Cowboys have told me throughout the years. You talk about the love a lot of people have for Jerry Jones. You talk about what a shrewd negotiator he is, but you also talk about how hardball he can be if you try to push him. Sometimes he will cut off his nose to spite his face, and it won't be the wisest decision from a football standpoint that he could make. But he's going to maintain a certain position if pushed to the brink. If I can get $12 million, right? If I'm at 5 and I want to get to 12 and the man comes up to 11, I'm not going to mess up a deal because of that $1 million. That's what I'm talking about here. We all make those decisions come negotiation time. You never are going to get all that you want. The goal is to get the majority of what you want and what you're aiming for. And all I'm saying is, as much as I believe that the Dallas Cowboys should have handled this better and they should have been taking care of Dak Prescott and all of that other stuff, at the end, if you're that close to inking a deal, in the end, you don't nitpick to mess it up. You close the deal.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have more on this later. Dak has made $4 million in his career. He is top 5 in wins during that time. Swagoo sticking around here with us. When we come back on First Take, the party just getting started. Tom Brady's coach already has to come to his defense. We'll tell you what he says. And is he lying? And it's the anniversary of Magic versus Bird in the national championship game. Magic Johnson will join us live. Don't miss that. Plus, Lamar Jackson's teammate will tell us why his quarterback is the real deal. He's not listening to the haters. It's First Take.